Ezri Esa Einai El Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Ba'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Ba'aretz. There is a moment we pivot. When we lose a beloved, our full attention is on caring for their great need, their need to be buried in a timely manner with dignity and respect, and most of all, with love. And even though in those moments after loss our hearts are broken open with sadness and with grief, we have to acknowledge it and keep moving forward to attend to the many details, the tachlis of life and death. But once we've stepped away from the cemetery, our grieving begins. Our Shiva begins the moment we leave the cemetery. And so this evening we are truly in Ma'ariv, not only Erev, but a mixing between the attending to, the love, and the dignity and the kindness. It truly is a chesed shel emet, an act of loving kindness to bury our dead that we did earlier today at the cemetery, now mixing with our grief as the focus turns more inward. So we began with the lighting of the Shiva candle. Page 2 for those who are following in the Siddur. Source of life's mystery, source of life's fragility and its hard-edged boundaries, have compassion on us as we mourn our loss. May this flame remind us that loved one's presence in our lives does not end with death. May we find comfort as we draw together in this candle's light, and may Ellie's memory be forever a blessing for all of us. On page 5, from Kohelet. For everything there is a time, for every desire and opportunity beneath the heavens, a time for giving birth, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot what is planted, a time to break, a time to heal, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time for mend. Our call to prayer, Baruch Hu, is on page 13. Please rise as you are able. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. In praise of creation on 15. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteh she'arim v'tuna meshanei itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'mesader et hachochavim b'mishmarotehem barakir kiritzono boro yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'ma'aver yom u'mevi layla u'mabdil ben yom u'ven layla Adonai tzevaot shemo El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. God's love for us is stronger than death. Page 17. We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. I invite you to be seated. We continue on page 21. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Redemption, whether you take it as fact or metaphor, our lives have purpose. Micha Mocha in your Siddur on page 35. Micha Mocha Bailim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar Bakodesh, Nora Tehilot, O Seifele, Malchutecha Ra'u Vanecha, Bokeach Yam Lifnei Moshe, Ze Eli, Anu V'Yamru, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Va'ed, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Va'ed, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Va'ed. Your children saw you in majesty splitting the sea in front of Moses. Ze Eli, this is my God, they cried and said, the Holy One will reign forever. And it was said, yes, the Redeeming One has rescued Jacob, saved him from a power stronger than his own. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. That we should lie down tonight in peace and wake up in the morning to life renewed. Hashkivenu, page 37. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Decree for us a worthy life and a worthy lot. Redeem us for the sake of your great name. Protect us and keep from us enemies, illness, sword, famine, and sorrow. Enfold us in the wings of your protection, for you are our redeeming guardian. Truly a sovereign, gracious, and compassionate God are you, Guard our going forth each day for life and for peace now and forevermore. Spread over us your Sukkot Shlomecha, your shelter of peace. Baruch Atah Adonai, Shomer Am Yisrael V'chol Yoshvei Tevel La'ad. The heart of our prayer is the Amidah. We rise together as it begins on page 45. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Agite Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'kodnei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi geula livnei bneihem, Lema'an Shemo b'yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Rav leHoshia morid hatal, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al givurot, Umidom elah, Melech mimit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah chayot kol chai, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh kol chai. Atah kadosh Shemcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chayom ha'eluka selah, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. I invite you to be seated and continue with the words of the Amidah, continuing on page 54 and carrying us all the way to page 73, or, of course, as always, the words and prayers from your heart as well.
Page 4, bottom of the page, the tefillah, a prayer from Psalm 90. It's often translated as teach us to count our days, but it's been interpreted, teach us to treasure each day. And times like this, we understand the deeper meaning of this meditation. So please join with us.
Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Limnot yameinu. Limnot yameinu. Limnot yameinu kein hoda venavi levav chokhmah. Limnot yameinu kein hoda venavi levav chokhmah. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day.
We turn now to remembrances. We'll hear first from beloved members of the family. And then after the family has spoken, if anyone else would like to share remembrances, you are absolutely invited to do so at that time. So we invite first son-in-law Carlos.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for coming, everyone. So a couple things. First of all, I didn't write anything today because when I wrote something for Isabel's bat mitzvah and I came up here and read it, Ellie said to me afterward, all you did is read. That wasn't speaking. I didn't get any sense that you knew how to speak publicly. So I decided I'm going to show her, and I'm not going to write anything. So I wanted to start with a story of the second time I hung out with Ellie and Arnie. Grace and I flew to Texarkana, where they were living on a farm, and Grace was working on her thesis, and so Arnie and Ellie and I decided to go on an adventure for the day, and we drove from Texarkana to a little place called Hope. Bill Clinton had just become president. I know some of you love hearing that. And so we decided to go see his childhood homes. And the whole drive was Arnie as a psychiatrist trying to figure out what I was made of and all the issues that I had. And Ellie took a lot of time to try to protect me from Arnie, reminding him that I wasn't a patient, that I was not someone that he needed to dig too deep into on this trip. But we did have a really good time. And Ellie, who I kind of discovered was a little bit of a renegade on this trip, she decided that it would be a good idea for me to fill a jar with dirt from the front of Bill Clinton's childhood homes. So, which I still have to this day, actually. And so the process was Arnie would stop in front of the house. I would jump out with a garden shovel and a jar. I would dig out of the front yard, and then we'd jump back in the car and we'd drive away. And Ellie really loved that, actually. Ellie was a risk taker. She liked to She liked to take risks, and that was a lot of fun. So that was my second experience. I was told by Grace I'm not allowed to talk about the first time I met Ellie and Arnie, because that was a story. So that was fun. We had a great day, and I learned a lot about Ellie and Arnie. And Ellie learned a lot about me. I think Arnie at one point said to me, "Carlos, less is more," which is really, like, if you think about Arnie philosophically, that is him. Less is more. And I turned to him and I said, "But Arnie, more is better." And so anyway, we had a great time. Ellie, to me, seemed like she was going to be a lot of fun. I've actually known her for 33 or 34 years. So I probably spent more time with her than I have a lot of my own family, because I left home at 14 for boarding school, and then I lived across the country. So I really have known her. But my second story is a story about Ellie and kind of the way she saw things and the humor that she brought to all of our family events. There was not a time where you wouldn't have sarcasm from Ellie, where you wouldn't have, fun, conversations, where she talked about things that she felt were important, where she stopped you from talking about things she didn't feel were important, and guided the conversation to things that made her less anxious when she didn't like what you were talking about. But she really, and she always left you with really funny stories to call and tell the rest of your family about things that happened at the last Thanksgiving or Passover or Rosh Hashanah dinner. So again, a really influential part of the family and the family dynamics. And I think the last thing I'll say about Ellie is she was a risk taker. She always had this desire to gamble. Like, she always wanted to take big risks. She used to ask me, "Carlos, where should I invest my money?" And I would say, "Well, we should get you a financial manager and they can tell you where." She said, "No, I want to take a big risk. Like, I want to put my money into something that," and she liked to gamble. Actually, at one point we went on a trip after my daughter graduated from high school. We went to Tahoe, and it's about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. We're all sitting around as a family, and we look around and we see that both of our mothers are missing. And so we head over to the casinos, and there they are at the slots, playing slots together, trying to win it big, as they said. But anyway, Ellie was a risk taker. Every time I went to Vegas, she would give me money and say, "Play roulette." She always wanted to figure out a way to make it big. And I think that was a big part of her, that she liked that idea that she could take a risk and get a big reward. And I think she has. She was a big reward to us. She's gotten. I think she was rewarded with great children, great grandchildren, a great husband. And we're going to miss her. So may her memory be a blessing.
Carlos, you're a good public speaker. Yeah. Granddaughter, Isabel.
Hello. I did write something, so hopefully she's okay with that. But it's about her, so I think she will be. Okay. I loved going to Grandma Ellie's house. She had the best art supplies, and she didn't care if we would take it all out at once and make a huge mess. We would watercolor and sketch and go to the pottery studio and make things, and that was always the best time. And then she would hang up all of our art on the wall, and every time I think we all felt special seeing our art signed by us, which was very important, every time we went there. Every time I came home and saw Grandma, she would pull me aside. This was like recently and 5-10 years ago, and ask me, okay, but how are you really doing? She did not care about hearing, oh, I'm good, or things are fine. She really wanted to know questions like if my boyfriend was treating me well, if I knew I loved him, how we met, what our first date was like, all the things we talk about. I don't know, she was really interested in that, and she wanted details. I was very happy to sit with her and tell her everything and giggle and laugh. And she would ask me important questions, reminding me that she had to be the one to ask them because my mom never would, because she's just too prude to ask those things. She never put pressure on me. She actually always took pressure off every time I saw her. When I was applying to med school, she would constantly remind me that it was okay if I changed my mind and I didn't want to do it and I wanted to follow any other passion, including being a hairdresser or being a stripper, which was a job my mom was too prude for, again. But that would be fine for me. For a bit, I thought that she just didn't believe in me. But actually, she created a space where I could be vulnerable and I could be honest, and I didn't have to worry about what she thought or anyone thought. Another little story. So Grandma was a rule bender. She and my mom and I were at lunch one day. I was probably 19. And she asked if I wanted a drink. And I was 19. Of course I wanted a drink. So she ordered one for herself. And it was some fruity drink that barely tasted like alcohol, but she ordered it. And when they brought it, before the waiter even walked away, she just slid it across the table and gave it to me. A few moments later, the waiter came back and asked to see my ID. My mom was horrified. You were so embarrassed. I think she thought we were going to be kicked out of the restaurant. I don't know what she thought. The police were going to come. Who's to say? Grandma thought it was funny. Without hesitation, I whipped out my ID and I showed it to her, and then she handed it back and it was fine. And my mom looked very confused, and what she didn't realize was that I was actually 22 and from Maine. And she was mad, but Grandma Ellie thought it was hilarious. So yeah, the last couple of years were tough. She was dealing with a lot of pain pretty much all the time. And I heard through the grapevine that she wasn't really the easiest person to get along with or maybe to live with. But personally, I think they were all lying, because every time I saw her, she was happy and laughing and glad I was there, and probably making fun of my mom all the time. She was kooky and silly and witty. She was always the cool grandma with purple hair. I am incredibly lucky to have gotten to know her for 26 years. I can't imagine a life without her. But I don't think I ever have to, because I already feel her presence everywhere. Thank you.
Grace.
Should I put that down? Sorry. Okay, so in my defense, I got a lot of friends here who would say she's not a prude, okay? I'm just saying. I just did not feel the need to share a lot of these things with my mom. I think that's understandable. Hello, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you being here. What is the most moving aspect of this whole last couple of days is seeing everyone just who has shown up. and been there and called and texted and is here today. I mean, it's just amazing, and I appreciate every one of you being here. What I loved most about my mom was that she introduced the love of books to me, the books and reading. She read books to me that her mom had read to her, Little Women and Anne of Green Gables and the Betsy Tacy books and All of a Kind Family, all these wonderful stories. And she encouraged me to dress up at Halloween as these characters, which I believed everybody knew about. So when I was a little girl, I dressed up as Heidi for Halloween. She wanted me to wear a name tag. I said, why would I need a name tag? Everybody knows who Heidi is. Well, not everybody knew who Heidi was. I wanted to be Laura Ingalls Wilder, and she actually had a whole costume made for me with the full sunbonnet, just like out of the books. It was wonderful. People knew who Laura Ingalls Wilder was, so that was a win for me. Throughout every stage of my life, my mom was always non-judgmental and would talk about anything at all. And my friends really loved her for this because they felt that they could go to her with things that they might not want to talk to their own adults about. And she would never tell them what they should do. She would just listen. And if they asked for advice, she would give some advice, but she was just supportive and she could really keep secrets. She had an ambivalent relationship with Judaism throughout her whole life. And in adulthood, she had intentionally separated from the formal structures of religion that her mother, my grandmother, had followed. But as I became more and more involved in the synagogue here, she would say, your grandmother Bess would be so proud of you. And I have to assume that was her way of saying she was also proud of me. So I have stood here on this stage, on this bima, as a member of the board of directors, as the education director of the school, as a teacher, and it is very surreal to be standing here because my mother has passed away. And it's just gonna be a whole new reality to get used to. And I appreciate you all being here to support me. I would like to say to all the people watching, we've got Abuelo watching, Carlos's family, all the cousins in New York and Los Angeles watching. Thank you so much for being here. I have a message from cousin Lucy. She said, Ellen and I were very close cousins and friends, especially during the last 5 years. We had deep conversations on the phone and enjoyed complaining to each other and know we would listen without judgment. And I'm grateful for the relationship that she had with her mother, Edna. My mom was a supportive friend to all of my friends, and she had really close groups of friends throughout her whole life. One group in particular, I just want to say thank you to, her group called Women with Wings. They supported her recently, ceaselessly from afar, sending her prayers and vibes and thoughts of crystals and thoughts of Sea Ranch and thoughts of Hawaii, and just they kept good feelings flowing towards her, and I know she felt it and she loved that very much. I also want to say that my mom had really special people who helped her as she was aging. The last couple of years and the last 6 months and the last 6 weeks have been, I can't even explain how difficult. No one was lying. It has been really, really, really hard. And I could not have gotten through it without the people that were helping her as she was aging. She couldn't have survived without them. I could not have survived without them. Steffi, Selena, Judy could not have made it through these years without you. So thank you so much. You are a sister to me forever. Thank you to my family, Roseanne, Dave, all of you are here. I really appreciate you being here as we turn my mom's memory into a blessing. Thank you.
At this time, if there is anyone who wants to share a remembrance of Ellie, we invite you to do so. I have a mic and I'll come to you. Just feel free.
I can do it mobily.
Okay.
I'll stand by the candle. Hello. I spoke a little bit this morning on more of a serious note about my grandma and the relationship we had. I stopped going to high school when I was 16. And I had a job, but it wasn't that, it was fulfilling in that I was being paid for it. But my mom invented a job for me, which was go to your grandparents as much as you can. And that was a far more fulfilling job. Out of the two of them, out of Arnie and Ellie, she was the most concerned with me actually working when I was there. I helped her download audiobooks on Audible. I found batteries. I plugged in printers. But my favorite part of all of these trips I would make to their house in Walnut Creek was about the last hour, she would say, okay, now we can sit. And we would sit and we would talk about all sorts of stuff. And I wasn't doing very well emotionally at that point. And at one point she said, well, I don't blame you. Like, she and I, maybe from a neurochemical standpoint, were pretty similar. And to have that and to see that in an 87-year-old, maybe when I was 16 was hard to think, wow, it's really never going to get better, is it? But looking at it now, I think it's, even if it doesn't get better, you can have so much in your life and maintain so much connections with friends and family and work and Buddhism and crystals and all these things that I also kind of like. I like living in Berkeley. She loved living in Berkeley. I think beyond my parents, who are my parents, and my grandfather, who is my grandfather, I think Grandma Ellie was really also my friend. I drove her to dispensaries when I got my med card, and she would tell me which edibles she liked more than others. She made sure I was never high when I was driving, which I committed to for a while until I didn't. Well, remember you took my car away for a while. Yeah, she was really my friend, and we could talk about things, and we could talk about music, and we could gossip about my parents. I got lots of insides on you too, Uncle Eric. And there's things I've done that she took to her grave, which I'm extremely grateful for. And I guess similar to what, Biz said and to what everyone I'm sure feels that knew her is, yeah, it's uncharted territory. I don't know what life will be like without my Grandma Ellie. And that renegade spirit and that measured confidence in telling someone to go away or shut up or keep going and do well, that's in me now, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think with more people like her, the world would be filled with a lot of really interesting and successful people. So I'm really proud of my grandma. She didn't go to Harvard, but she, to me, was an Ivy League grandmother. How's that? So.
I'll be the one who breaks. Which one am I using? You're making me kind of like a rock star moment. Okay. This one off? How's that? Okay. Hi, I'm Steffi. I wish I could go further. I don't think I can. But A couple of things. No, your mother never lied about it, all that. And I have also raised my hand as having supplied many weed edibles to your grandmother. Her favorite would be Dr. Norm's. If you are looking for edibles yourself, the brownies and the blondies are particularly scrumptious. I came into Arnie and Ellie's life a few years ago now, 3 or 4. So I've always known them as older people, and I've always known them as a couple deeply in love. And not just with each other, but with their children and their grandchildren. I've had the pleasure of meeting and knowing each of their grandchildren, and I have to say it's a remarkable couple who can raise such distinctive individuals, and each of them are. So it's a testament to you, Arnie, and to your love for your wife, and a testament to her. I just want you to know I feel very blessed and grateful to be in your life, and I'm sorry our journey continues without her, but continue it may, and I love you.
So I'm Ellen's niece, and I really hate public speaking, so I'm just putting that out there. I just want to say that prior to Robbie's time helping Aunt Ellen, I also had a period of time where she called me over to her house to help her with things, which mostly meant taking out photos and like put sticky notes on them and sticking them away somewhere else. But the main thing is that Aunt Ellen was really a collector of family information and family stories, and she really, I don't know, there's a term, you were just talking about it, like door to door or something, like there's this feeling of like she kept the generations before her and our generations and her grandkids all connected, and I really appreciate that part of her, even though she also did not believe in the season to throw things away. So when I heard that prayer, I was like, Aunt Ellie says no to that. But in any case, she was a source of, if you heard, like complete positive regard and unconditional love for her, many people in her family, including me. And I'm very grateful. And like Isabel said, I sort of can't imagine not having that actively, but we'll have so many memories and many photos to look at. So that's it.
Thanks, Roseanne. We turn now to the conclusion of our service this evening. Page 95. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. Then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
The Kaddish Tome, our Mourner's Kaddish, can be found on page 103. In the Jewish mystical tradition, the Kaddish is this way of, whenever we're with others, gathered in community, we take this moment, and it's a kind of a deep, connective opportunity. People who have transitioned out of this plane of existence. And there is a belief that saying this prayer helps elevate their souls. And maybe that's why it's been so precious to our people for countless generations. So all who are able, you're invited to rise and offer this Kaddish for Ellie Gilbert, Zichrona Livracha. For Ellie. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba. Bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv dimru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach leolam uleolmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Zecher, 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 tzadeket livracha, livracha, may, her memory bless our days, bless our days. Amen.
As we conclude, we do with a verse from the 27th Psalm, which is a psalm that we recite all through Elul. It has two teachings in it that seem to contradict what the psalmist is teaching. I think it's especially applicable to your family right now. The psalmist writes, "One thing I've asked of God, one goal do I pursue, to dwell in the Eternal's house throughout my days, to know the bliss of the sublime, to visit in God's temple." So the psalmist writes wanting one thing and then asks for two. Right? One is to always be in the presence of the Holy One, blessed be, and to have the opportunity to be in the presence of God. So which one is it? Our rabbis teach it's both, right? It's to both enter in to this environment surrounded by your family and your friends, and know this love that you have put into the bank of time for so many years, that's here and available for you now, that's been here, is here, and will be here. And this is also the first. This is also uncharted territory, that God was there and God is here. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yamei chayai. Lachasor ben Noam Adonai levaker bechechalo. Lachasor ben Noam Adonai ulavaker bechechalo. Erev Tov, L'chule Shalom. This concludes our service this evening, and now we eat.